Welcome to today's webinar on industrial chemical safety and emergency management, emerging trends and issues. Thank you all for taking time out and being here today. I am Dr. Anjali Barwal, Research Associate at National Institute of Disaster Management. As all of us have already observed that all over the world, people are becoming victim of industrial and chemical accidents that release hazardous substances into the environment. Therefore, crucial preparations must be made by government to prevent or respond to such events and minimize any harmful effects. So this webinar would focus on drawing strategic lessons and deliberate upon the key issues of industrial chemical safety and disaster risk reduction. On behalf of National Institute of Disaster Management, I welcome our guest of honor, Shri Sanjeev Pondrik sir, who is Joint Secretary NDMA, holds the position of advisor mitigation in NDMA, handling various mitigation measures for major hazards and other associated activities. He is also responsible for various COVID-19 related works in NDMA. Moving to NDMA, he has joined as Joint Secretary in Ministry of Petroleum and Refineries for about 4.5 years. He has also been associated with various international reduction and recovery and the World Bank. Now I welcome our Honorable Executive Director of NIDM, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal sir. He is an alumnus of National Defence Academy. He has done his graduation from the Defence Service Staff College and has attended the prestigious Higher Command course, the Army War College, besides excelling in all other career courses in the Army. During his more than 3 decades of service, he has held important command and assignments. He has been the Director, Center for United Nations Peacekeeping, New Delhi. For 3 years, he was also the Secretary of the International Association of Peacekeeping Training Center. Next, we have 3 renowned speakers in today's session with us today. First is Shri Lalit Gabhane sir. He is the Director General and CEO and National Safety Council of India, which is a leading national level organization providing guidance and services to make workplaces safer, healthier, and environment friendly. He has over 31 years of work experience with leading corporates. He has been developing and delivering training programs in the area of environment, health, safety, and fire. Next, we have Dr. R.K. Ilangovan Sarvedas. He is working as Director General in the Directorate General Factory Advice Service and Labor Institutes, Ministry of Labor and India, Mumbai. He has been selected and included as an industrial safety expert in the 2010 edition of Marcus Who's Who in the World, distinguishing him as one of the world's foremost achiever in the field. He is actively involved in OSH activities for more than 25 years, and he has published many thematic and research papers at national and international conferences in the field of industrial safety. Next, we have Dr. Dinesh Kumar with us, who is Additional Director in Hazardous Substance Management Division, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. He has also worked in Control of Pollution Division and Impact Assessment Division of MOEFCC. He has also worked with the Central Pollution Control Board as an environment engineer for around 4 years. Overall, he has more than 17 years of cross-functional experience in industrial standard development, environment, and resource management. I welcome you all in today's session. And now this is for the kind information to all the participants and viewers that in the last of this technical session, we have kept 20-25 minutes for the question answer session. There we will take the opportunity to know the views and queries from the participants about this webinar. So during the session, you can keep writing or posting your questions along with your name and brief introduction in the chat at the bottom of the screen. Now I would like to introduce Professor Anil Kumar Gupta, who is the head of ECDRM division of NIDM. Professor Gupta is working in the area of disaster management, environment, and climate resilience for more than 25 years with national, subnational, and business administration. He has steered international and national projects of policy research, planning, and capacity building. He has credit for preparation of national and sectoral disaster management plans, Human Resource Capacity Development Plan, National Action Plan for Disaster Management. Now, I would like to request Professor Gupta for setting the context of today's webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali, yes, for introducing this webinar, which is on very important topic. And I'm really very happy that we have the national level luminary experts gracing this occasion and to discuss on this issue of prominence in the today's context. The industrial safety, what it was 30 years back and what it is today, and what it is going to be next 10 or 15 years, is certainly depending a lot on the changes in technology, changes in our practice, and also changes in the social behavior. So certainly a discourse on this subject becomes very, very important. The series of webinars is started by NIDM under the leadership of Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, its Executive Director, is a way to spread the knowledge and spread the viewpoints across the experts, across the industry, and across the people to think about these issues of prominence. And this program, where we have the top 3 agencies, in fact, all the 3 agencies which are responsible for managing industrial chemical accidents are present here, and we are very happy and we are very lucky to have all of them here. So this webinar is going to discuss on how the paradigm shift has taken place in the area of industrial disaster management, and also from dealing with industrial safety in isolation, how we are moving towards more towards an integrated approach to holistic disaster management also. And so we will be looking forward to listening to all the luminary experts and also the keynote speaker at this occasion. And then at the end, we will take the question answer also, so that we can know what our viewers and many experts must be there in the viewers and the listeners also, so we can have their viewpoints also. So over to you, Anjali, back to you. Yeah. Anjali, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Gupta, for setting the context and explaining the need to conduct this webinar on the theme. Now, I would like to request ED NIDM Major General Bindal sir for the welcome address.
Thank you, Anjali. First of all, I welcome all the participants who have joined, and a very hearty welcome to the panelists, because they are from all relevant fields, and which shows from the government, and which shows the commitment of the government to deal with this particular issue. And lately, we have seen number of incidents taking place, accidents taking place related to the same issue on which we are going to talk about today. We are aware that there is a wide spectrum of technology which is available, but identifying the right technology for a specific problem is the issue. And that has to be done in the correct sense, with a lot of deliberations and research, because this technology drives the transformation in all the business areas. So we have to explore new options and validate the creative solutions that come out of it. Data analysis, cloud computing, Internet of Things, augmented reality, mobile devices, self-robotic interventions, drones, artificial intelligence. This has opened a whole new world where imagination is the limit. Even Industry 4.0 talks about industrial revolution based on cyber physical systems. So so these things place a lot of responsibility on us. First of all, we are required to carry out the risk assessment, then find out the right intervention. Then we have to manage the change, because management of change is very important. Otherwise, all interventions will be counterproductive. And then we have to manage the compliances of safety audits and activities, which, if not done properly, will keep leading to accidents, and no amount of technology can help us in that. Some examples which the industry, especially chemical, and when we talk of chemical, it has to include gas also, and to some extent some oil related industries also, because they're all interrelated. They can use cutting edge technology today. The emerging trends that we are talking about, like process tools with safer designs, inherently safer designs, so that the human element is reduced. GIS for selection of plant locations, or routing of pipelines, or big storage, and including terrain information. We can choose places where, if suppose something happens, it is the effect is minimized. I'll give you an example of, you see what happened in Lebanon now, and so many people got affected, right up to 240 kilometers away, people got affected. Now, though, the result of that will come out in uh, through various researches. But within India, there's a matter of concern. If you go to Kandla port in Gujarat, there are more than 400 storage tanks clustered within a very small area next to the Kandla port. And that is the matter. And the whole city of Kandla, Anjar, Bhoj, everything is within 60 kilometers of that. So that location of a plant is very, very important, for which technology can be very useful, because we can do 3D modeling of the impact assessment. Intrusion detection system for pipelines, monitoring routes through drones, then CFD-based application rather than 3D fire and gas detector mapping in congested areas or congested area, then congested area modeling, explosion modeling, quantitative risk assessments. So these are all possible today through AI and various e-learning modules. And this machine learning also is talking about wearable technology today, so that you don't have to, you're not restricted to a place and you're remotely accessing it. You can walk through the and still have all the data with you. So robotic firefighting technology in chemical industry, this is a very major factor that robotic firefighting technology is taken care of. So there are a number of measures which we can do, the emerging trends that are coming up. But the whole thing, finally, I always say in every seminar, it comes down to that one person who's monitoring that system, because no amount of technology runs on its own. Even if you have a highly AI capable system, still someone monitors it. Someone is there is a check and balance in place. Uh, so that person who's monitoring it, that industrial safety uh, organization which is there, that they are the weakest or the strongest link, whichever way you want to see. If not trained properly, they are the weakest link. If trained properly, they become your resource. So the emphasis on training of these people who will be monitoring the new technology and new trends that we are trying to build in, and their training, their upskilling, their reskilling or upskilling or practices. So that cannot be replaced. The Hazard HSE that we talk about, that organization cannot be replaced. That has to run alongside, and they have to be now much more responsive, because they will get to know things in a faster time frame. Decision making has to be done at a faster time frame. So all along, the technology will bring in better systems, better processes, more safety, as also a requirement from the leadership down to the operator will also increase. The demand on the mental capability to react to emerging situations will also be required to be enhanced. So with this, I will finish my talk here, because I'm keen to hear all the eminent speakers and panelists and the inaugural remarks by Pondrik ji. They are the experts in the field. So thank you so much. And over to you, Anjali.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insights and kind remarks. Now, I would like to request our guest, Sanjeev Pondrik, sir, for your inaugural remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank NIDM for giving me this opportunity for participating in this seminar on a very, very topical subject. I don't think it can be more topical than this in view of the last week's Beirut incident. And so let us think about starting from 1984, when in December before the Bhopal incident happened, and perhaps world's worst industrial disaster, with close to 4,000 people dead and more than 5 lakh people exposed to the gas methyl isocyanate. This really was a very, very bad time for chemical industry in terms of safety in the country. And we have come a long way from that. But the recent Vishakhapatnam incident in May, on 7th of May, also the importance of safety in chemical industry is as important as ever, and we in no way can have a careless or a complacent attitude toward this. So with this background, I would like to point out certain things which NDMA is trying to do. The National Disaster Management Plan, which was made by NDMA in 2016 and updated in 2019. That National Disaster Management Plan covers chemical disasters. It gives responsibility to each and every stakeholder that what his or her role will be to avert a disaster. So as all of you are aware that there are 4 phases in a disaster management cycle, starting from mitigation to preparedness to response to recovery and reconstruction. And this has come into more focus after the 2005 Disaster Management Act. And the focus or emphasis of NDMA is that most of the incidents should be avoided by taking more and more steps on the mitigation and preparedness side. And there is least requirement for response, the other 2 phases, that is response and recovery and reconstruction. So in that direction, NDMA also issued the 2 guidelines on chemical disasters in 2007 and 2009. And these 2 guidelines are very detailed guidelines, and they basically again give a roadmap of what the role of government ministries, organizations, the private industry, the public sector units, the safety regulators, and the first responders, the workers who are working in these chemical units, what they should do, what should be their role, so that there is least likelihood we can mitigate the risk of a disaster or a chemical incident. I hope that the stakeholders have gone through these guidelines because they were made after a lot of consultations. And starting from that, we have taken up capacity building training programs. In February of this year, we held mock exercise in Dehradun, in Uttarakhand, consisting of four districts. And before that, in September 2019, 6 districts of Gujarat, which have major chemical units. So that is what NDMA has been doing on the basically avoid the chemical disasters. Today's topic is more on what are the emerging trends and what is the role of technology in mitigating the risk or reducing the possibility of disasters. Now, before coming into NDMA, I was, as was said in the introduction, I was in Ministry of Petroleum. And as all of you are aware that Petroleum Ministry, the units, all the public sector units in Petroleum Ministry, they handle perhaps the largest amount of chemicals in the country, if you include petrol, diesel, LPG, etc. But they also are having large number of petrochemical and chemical plants. And they have taken many steps to upgrade the safety environment in their units. And Major General Bindal talked about artificial intelligence and many other machine learning and many other things. I would like to mention 2 things here. One is not at a industrial level, but more at a transportation level. That is tracking of the transportation carriers who are carrying these chemicals. If we can track all of them using GPS technology, which is one of the easiest technologies now, very cheap, then in the objective was to track their movement from commercial point of view, but even from safety point of view, this gives a lot of advantage because it can be seen that where these carriers are they moving into densely populated area, and we can perhaps route them through areas which are not, which do not have that much of population. So that is one. Second is the pipeline, especially the carriers of chemicals which are being carried through pipelines. There have been so many new technologies now uh, to ensure that there are no accidents in the pipeline. Some of you will remember the Gale incident in Tatipaka a few years ago, where large number of people died because of a leakage of natural gas. But similar incidents can happen if we do not take care of pipelines. On the unit side, in addition to whatever we do in terms of technology, in terms of putting the latest gadgets there, the training of people working in these units is perhaps the most important thing. And if we do not train them, if there is no safety culture in the unit, so I've seen in many public sector units and also in private sector units who are really aware about their the importance of safety. There is a safety briefing before every meeting. So even if you start a half an hour meeting, there is a 1 minute safety briefing, and that basically emphasizes the importance of safety. So the safety culture should be there in the unit, and people should be aware that even if they miss one step, it can put themselves as well as their fellow workers and the adjoining people at grave risk. And if we are able to inculcate this safety culture in our units, then I think that in addition to the latest technologies, that can be one of the most important things. And second is awareness about what should be done if something goes wrong. What should be done? That I think is again an SOP. We have drafted SOPs for national level, state level. However, there has to be an SOP for each unit. So something goes wrong, what will be done by which person? That needs to be put on a document, and those mock exercises, as per the law, as per the regulations, those mock exercises need to be done every 6 months. I don't think in many units that is done, but they are very important. If we really uh, conduct them seriously, not like as a formality, but put people there, then at the time of an accident, that will save lives. And so both these things, the capacity building as well as awareness generation, are perhaps two more important things which need there to generate the culture of safety. NDMA is working on this side by we have identified 100 districts in the country which have more number of MAH units, major accident hazard units, chemical units, and we are planning to have meetings with the district administration, the chemical industry, the associations, and we are planning to have the meetings to basically make them aware that what should be done to ensure safety in those units, and that will include training, that will include awareness generation. That we are also developing material which can be circulated, which can be given to people living near such clusters. So, for example, if people know that there is a possibility or the plant is using styrene gas, and if there is a leakage, what should be done? Whether they should, whether so if one particular gas is heavy and it will be more near ground, and if they are told that if there is such a gas leakage, perhaps it will be better to go to higher places, or so something like that, depending on gas to gas and chemical to chemical. Awareness generation also I think is very important. Uh, more thing I would like to point out, that safety, we are talking about the latest technologies, we are talking about the latest gadgets, we are talking about the latest equipments, but all of that costs money. And sometimes the units find it difficult to invest so much of money in a non commercially non viable uh, investment, because when you invest in safety, it is not giving you any commercial returns. But then the units have to be, the people have to be aware that even if it is not giving them investment now, it is making their people and their units safe on a longer term. So, but the second thing is that if there is a cluster of units in a area, as Major General Pindal mentioned, that our chemical industrial units have generally developed in a clusters because of various infrastructure issues. So maybe they can collaborate among themselves, and they can invest in such a way that each unit doesn't have to invest in the same equipment. So if there are 10 units and they can invest on a common platform, then in case of those equipment, those technologies can be used by all the units, and the investment will come down significantly. The CSR funds also can be used, as you are aware that CSR funds you can use for safety equipment, for disaster preparedness. So that is another avenue for investing in safety. So I would like to mention here that in view of the recent accidents, all of us are aware that there have been minor or major accidents recently in the country. It has again brought into focus the requirement for chemical safety, the units which are there, which are dealing with hazardous chemicals. They need to be very, very cautious. They have to adhere to all the SOPs, and they have to train their people in a focused manner so that they understand the culture of safety. So with that, I would like to once again thank NIDM for organizing this very, very relevant and topical webinar. I am sure that the experts who are going to speak after me, they will give they will elucidate on new technologies and emerging trends, and it will be useful to all the people who are there in the webinar. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insights and visionary approach, and also blessing us with your valuable time. Thank you so much once again. Now, I would like to request Professor Anil Kumar Gupta to convene the technical session.
Thank you, the guest of honor from NDMA and EDN for opening today's webinar. And thank you, Anjali, for setting the stage. Now we are moving towards the technical session. So technical session is designed this way that we have 2 rounds of question answers, and I'll be reading out a specific question and then directing it to the learned expert on the subject. And there are 2 rounds. So first round, we have designated around 3 minutes for each of the expert, and then we'll have the second round, and then second round we'll have little more. So 3 to 4 minutes in the second round. The focus of today's discussion is also to look at the changing scenario of industrial safety management, because industrial safety has been important 15 years before also, and industrial safety is important now also. But things have undergone in some kind of a paradigm shift, and especially if we look at the focus for particularly 10-15 years, the development and huge advances in the area of disruptive technology, and now even when we are talking about the nanoscience and nanotechnology. And besides this, our life day by day is becoming more and more chemical intensive. If we look at the new chemicals being added to our industrial systems, new chemicals being added to our environment, so that is we find always a kind of a regular some new chemicals are being added, and that is the reason we are also required to regularly update our list of sometimes hazardous chemicals or the medium hazardous chemicals or the reactive chemicals, these kind of things also. So the first question goes to Dr. Ilangovan, who is the Director General in Directorate General of Factory Advice Service and Labor Institutes, DG Fastly. Dr. Langovan, the question is like this, that the chemicals and technology are day by day overwhelming our life, and hence the demand of new and more chemical intensive processes and products is there. How do you see the safety and emergency risk scenarios at present, especially in India and also the Asia Pacific countries as compared to 20 years back? Current focus on Swadeshi and make in India, that is the kind of buzzword with which we are formulating our policies within the commercial, industrial and trade settings also, and within the process also. How do you see the safety issues in technology and industrial progress regime? So over to Dr. Ilongwan.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Once again, good morning to the co-panelists and participants in this webinar. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me and to share my thoughts on this amongst this August gathering. See, if you look safety, in fact, the legal framework, first, for the base, I would always consider as a legal framework. So we'll start with the national policy. The national policy on safety, health and environment at workplace, which was declared by the Ministry of Labour and Employment in the year 2009. The primary purpose of the policy is not only to reduce the accidents or injuries, but also disasters. It is to reduce the disasters, negate it, or minimize it. That's the policy in which we work when it comes to safety net. Number two, coming to the industrial disaster, where whatever we will be dealing with, connected to chemicals. So the industrial disasters, all these accidents, if it is going to happen in a workplace, in a factory or a manufacturing premises, then if there are going to be some error, some deviation, some mistake or some accident, then there is always a possibility of this accident transforming into an emergency or a disaster if the control measures are not put in place, if they are inadequate or inappropriate, or the people are incapable of dealing. And in the primary legislation on safety in the country is the Factories Act 1940, and we have state factories rules, the model rules. It focuses on chemical safety. The point of discussion is the whole chemical safety, right from the import, calling it from a perspective of the importer or a manufacturer or a supplier, product safety to the process safety or operation safety. Everything is part of the Factories Act. And apart from that, presently many of you must be knowing, the Ministry of Labour, Government of India is working on 4 codes. One of the code is the Safety and Health Working Conditions Code. This code will purely devote on safety. And whatever looks in a factory, we have kept the hazardous processes or dangerous operation. All the safeguards, safety systems, requirements have been already provided under the law. And of course, the state authorities are being given authority to investigate, to enforce the provisions. As the Professor Anil said, the point of discussion is what happened in the last 20 years. One thing we should all agree that the safety has moved in a very big way in the industry workplaces. You can find increased number of safety officers, you can increase number of safety compliances, and but at the same time, the industries are also increasing in number. As the inaugural address it was spoken, large number of chemicals are coming, understandings are becoming less, or we are also sometimes, I feel that people are also becoming complacent. Having worked with a particular chemical for a very long period of time, they think that they know everything. And they forget about the process safety or the reactive hazards. Basically, in my perspective, the culture of the organization, safety culture, with a perspective on emergency preparedness or disaster management, and overall organizational performance should be focused. In fact, I personally feel it's the right time we are aware to create the culture in the minds of the chemical industry, operating personnel, our own technical experts, engineers, that they should focus on safety in terms of process safety or the reactive hazards, and then looking into guidelines, use and don't precautions, and how these things can aid in a long way in reducing accidents, spills, emergencies, and disasters. This is my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Langovan. You rightly pointed out that how the organizational issues are becoming more important, and then safety has to be brought to the mind of the people in chemical industry, and that in fact has set the tone for the second question that I am taking to the Director General of National Safety Council of India, Shri Lalit Gabaneji. Lalitji, safety management in the pre-Bhopal was primarily worker-centric. We were talking more of the worker safety with less focus on on-site and off-site emergency issues. So that is the reason we when we discuss, we divide pre-Bhopal and post-Bhopal Bhopal regime of the legislative framework also. And as it has undergone the paradigm shift over past 3 decades very significantly. National Safety Council of India, which has a national framework, state chapters, then you have the local chapters, regional chapters, and a dense network of safety professionals in the country. So my request is that what is your experience on management considerations? Because Dr. Ilangovan also referred to that, the management. So how management is now conceiving and looking at this change, safety 20 years before and safety now. So over to you, Lalit sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me for this webinar on chemical disasters. Uh, as you know, after Bhopal, a lot of things have changed. Bhopal incident has really taught many lessons to the Indian industry, to the Indian management, and not only to Indian but to the world over, what has happened and what needs to be done. As you rightly mentioned in your question, that the pre-Bhopal, the safety was more on the worker focus, of the worker centric, and really the management focus or the on-site, off-site emergency plan was lacking. It's true. After Bhopal, our very own Factories Act 1948 was amended to put more and more onus on the occupier, and also to have a better engagement with everyone working in the organization. Also, on the disclosure of the important information, which was perhaps lacking in the Bhopal case, like what chemicals you store, what is the MSDS, what needs to be done if there is a gas leakage or a chemical spillage. So every organization, particularly the organizations, are supposed to have the emergency prepared and all. So these things have come. I mean, we have come a long way, and still a lot needs to be done by the organizations in India. What in my experience so far is that the managements are becoming really more and more concerned about safety. And the recent incident of Vizag a few weeks back or a few months back has again, strengthened that thought process. So what we did at National Safety Council, we have various programs. We have some audits. We carry out audits. We carry out training programs. We have your very popular safety awards program for the Indian industry. Now, by way of safety awards program, we really come to while assessing the awards application, we have put various types of questions there. What is the top management engagement in safety? How they see safety? How the safety performance is at the board level? So, last few years, there is really increasing awareness amongst not only just employee awareness, but among the management that they have to take care of safety. If accident happens, it's the management's, the top boss might be placed behind the bars if the accident happen, and Vizag is again, for that. So the management concern about safety is increasing, and there are two folds now. It's not just that management people don't want to get punished or don't want to get penalized. Better workplaces are also adding, the safe workplaces are also adding value to the overall business. Today, employees also concerned that they don't that they want to work in a safer and cleaner workplace, and also the customer of the organization. Also, if your organization is, if your business is dirty, if your processes are not defined, if you have a history of accidents, the customers also may not come to buy your goods. So that is the kind of paradigm shift which is happening. And yes, many managements have now considered safety as one of their core values, and not just one of the uh, uh, activity, because they have realized it's really adding value to their overall business, to their overall sustainability of the business. And we can see from various activities which we perform for the Indian industry, we have a database also available how the entire safety movement is progressing in various categories of industry, be it a chemical industry or a petrol building industry or a construction industry. So there is a good progress happening. Yes, Bhopal was 25 years back, and 25 years is a very, very long period. Everyone has really understood what they need to do and what they should not do. Uh, that is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Lalit Jabane, ji. Now, and you focused on that how the management plays a very key role, and when you're talking, then you use the word top management. So probably that is very important, and that is also the crux when any organization goes for ISO certification, especially for the EHS category. And there we say that the quality flows from the top. So that is very important. So it is not only for the quality, it is for the safety also, and it is for the health also, it is for the environment also, that the concern of quality should flow from the top. And therefore, this becomes very important. Now, I would be coming to the nodal ministry for chemical accident, that is the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Dr. Dinesh Kumar, who is additional director. Dr. Dinesh, my question is with you because the division is called hazardous substance management. So hazardous substance becomes little broader. Uh, this is also a reality that whenever we look at the industrial emergencies or industrial accidents, most of such scenarios have hazardous chemicals as a factor within most of such accidents. So how do you see the trend of the use of hazardous materials in the industry, and not only industry, but even in the public life also, like even our big hospitals now they also include a lot of hazardous handling of hazardous materials also, and that affect environment, health, and life. So what all are covered is when we use the term hazardous substance. So over to you, Dinesh Kumar ji.
As you have said that we have come a long way after Bhopal, and with the development process, more and more products and horticultural processes have come up which need raw materials, and incidentally there is a huge upsurge in the number and the nature of hazardous chemicals which are being used in life. I can say that as a ministry, we have also come a long way. And much before the Disaster Management Act came into place, we have placed a regulatory, clear-cut regulatory mechanism which, which was designed to not only address the pre-accident phase but also the post-accident phase. So in the pre-accident phase, we have placed the MSIHC rules, that is the manufacturing, storage, and import of hazardous chemical rules, just to uh, make the occupiers, the other stakeholders aware that yes, there is a need to follow certain principles, certain guidelines, certain rules while handling the hazardous chemicals, which may cause major accidents. And there is a need also to involve the general public, like divulging the information with regard to the information usage, storage, manufacturing of the chemicals. And apart from that, there are certain stakeholders which have been involved, like the chief inspector of factories and the PESOs. They already have their well identified responsibilities to give site approvals and all that. So they have been put into the framework of MHISC also to avoid duplication and to just uh, give them more powers to the Environment Protection Act, because Environment Protection Act came after Bhopal and it is having much more wider powers than any other act. So to handle crisis situations, we need to have such kind of power. So in that case, CIS have been empowered, KSOs have been empowered, take actions. Under MSI rules, what happens is that we have put in place a very well laid out uh, safety system wherein uh, the occupiers, they are mandated to prepare on-site emergency plans, undertake safety audits, submit the safety reports, as well as carry out the mock drills. Now, there is a schedule in the rule which very clearly identifies the responsibilities of all stakeholders. And for this industrial installations, it is actually the PESO and the CIF who plays the key role. Apart from giving approvals and all that, while giving approvals, the CIF and PESO, they ensure that there are standard operating procedures in place for all the industries to handle such hazardous chemicals. So, though there is a change in usage of hazardous chemicals over a period of years, but there are certain mechanisms that have also been put in place. Further, we have complemented these MSIFC rules with the paper rules. Paper is the Chemical Accident Emergency Planning Preparedness Response Rules. And way back in 1996, that is before 9 years, the Disaster Management Act came into place. We felt the need that uh, there is a need to have a crisis management framework. The paper rules places crisis management framework at four places. That is the central level. We have a crisis management group here in ministry. Then at the state level, there has to be a crisis management framework group. Then at district level, there has to be a local crisis group. The the paper rules also mandate that industrial clusters need to have emergency response centers which undertake activities whenever such crises or emergency situations are created. But the implementation has not been so good. So that is why we are seeing so many industrial accidents and disaster situations coming up in the future. Now, I would like to update you that from last couple of years, again there have been certain deliberations going on in the federal government, and now one more set of rules, which will be a whole more holistic kind of integrated kind of rules, that is the draft chemical safety management rules. They are in the pipeline and they will come. Uh, it will be there is a proposal to put it under the Environment Protection Act, and that will address the whole aspect of not only uh, handling of hazardous chemicals, but much before handling, there has to be a registration of chemical, authorization of chemicals, and necessary authorities will be involved. Most probably, the PESO will be there. So I think for handling industrial emergencies in hazardous chemicals, in addition to the existing framework, a new framework is now under formulation stage and most likely it will come up. Thank you, sir. Is it fine?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. In fact, you addressed my second question, which I had planned for you. That was relating to the legal framework which Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change is hosting relating to hazardous substances. And just to add here that the international the treaties of which India is signatory, for example, the Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention, and the Basel Convention, is also dealt by Hazardous Substance Management Division of Ministry of Environment and Forest. And as you rightly pointed out, and in fact that provides linkages to for me to go to Shri Lalit Gabane ji again, the Director General of National Safety Council. Sir, Dinesh referred to about chemicals and chemical safety regulations that is being thought of. And as we have been talking that chemicals within the industry and chemicals outside the industry. If a hazardous chemical is there, certainly the inventory matters a lot. But the awareness about the safety dimensions of chemical itself is very important. So awareness whether a hazardous chemical at our home, within our laboratory, in our academic institutions, our hospitals, are within industry. So thinking about the health and safety aspects of dealing with chemicals, whatever is the quantity, that is also a kind of a basic thing. So Safety Council, National Safety Council, which has a very strong network, as we already discussed. I would like to have your comment on the correct state of implementation of these regulations that we are talking about, and particularly the implementation and the issues which emerged when we look at the major industrial accident that took place over the past 10 years or so. So over to you, Lalit sir.
Uh, yeah, what we come across is that we are still lacking in our training. Now, as if I relate it to, a day-to-day example, before we take out our car from our garage, what do we check? We check our brakes, headlights, horn, and then we drive. Now, the similar thing applies to when you start any, or restart any factory or any plant. Now, there are processes, restart of safety, and the regular periodic safety audit has to be done. These are all the things which are needed to prevent the accident. Periodic risk assessment needs to be carried out. So people try to take shortcuts in this things in a hurry to just start a plant and get the business going. So these things happen. Sometimes this safety risk assessment is done and the report remains in the file. And what are the recommendations for the corrective actions or for risk reduction measures? They are not implemented, or what is implemented at site is actually much different than what is recommended by the risk assessment uh, expert. So there has to be a linkage between what understanding what is your risk, what needs to be done to mitigate that risk, and then a check over that whether the right are the adequate risk reduction measures have been implemented and the people have been trained in those risk reduction measures or not. You do risk assessment just 1 year back or 2 years back and keep it in the file. It won't help. We have the recent example of Vizag. I don't want to get into more details of the findings of that accident and all. But what obviously came out that the plant was started before certain, the restart of safety audits and the safety checks were not done. So such things are there. The accidents might, still happen. So there are various standards. There are ISO protocol, ISO certification standards. There are our own Indian auditing standards and all. So industry has to understand that these auditing standards or these certification like 14,000 or ISO 14,500 and all, they are not just certification purpose to hang the certificate nicely on the wall so that your users can see that. That should not be the sole intent. Those standards are written by the experts with a purpose. You follow what is given in that standard. We audit them, check periodically whether all the requirements of the standards are followed or not, and whether people are trained or not. Then only that certification makes a real use to the industry. So our process needs to be clearly defined and reviewed and understood by everybody in the organization. In many organizations, we have seen safety is just a safety manager's job. That has to go. Safety manager is an expert in safety, but doesn't mean that only he is responsible for safety. Everyone is responsible for safety. Every process operator is responsible in his own way. He may not be expert in everything, but he can always take help of the expert people. It needs to be kept in mind that before I do any operation in a factory, the safety checks must be done. The safety must be ensured. So once that happens, then I think we will have very less number of accidents or accidents of very smaller or we be able to eradicate the accidents from the industries. Yeah, over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Shri Lalit Gabani, for giving your valuable comment on this, that safety is not the job of one particular department or only the safety inspector or safety officer. And that is a very important message in fact, that how the organizations and industries and corporate systems should look at safety. Now coming to Dr. Langovan again, Dr. Langovan, who is a well-known expert on the subject and DG of the DG Fastly. Dr. Langovan, as we know, and that is also a matter of little happiness for us, that India scores better than many other countries in labor welfare and safety issues. And labor institutes have also been playing very, very significant roles in this aspect. How do you see the need for effective coordination and improvement in safety and disaster laws in the country with respect to industrial and chemical accidents and their management? Because a number of ministries at the central level are involved. For example, Ministry of Petroleum is there, Ministry of Industry is there, Corporate Affairs are there, Ministry of Labor there, Ministry of Health is there, Ministry of Petroleum is there, and Ministry of Environment Forest is there, and then NDMA is there. And then beside these also there are so many agencies. So what is your say based on your long experience on this subject? Dr. Ilangovan. Dr. Ilangovan, you are muted and we are not able to see you.
So I think his connectivity is low.
Can anyone make a call to him? So anyway, we'll keep this question open and we'll wait for him to join again. Meanwhile, what we can do, we can have some questions from the audience in this round, and when Dr. Ilangovan comes back, we'll go to him again. Meanwhile, if Anjali can make him a call, and then we'll go to some to take some questions from the audience. Some questions I have already got. One, the question is from Mr. Shailesh, and Lalit sir is here.
Yes, I'm here.
So there is one question from the audience. We can take up this question meanwhile. One person, Shailesh, is there who he has asked, as we all know, the recent accident took place and devastated Barrett, Lebanon. So there is also a concern about the Vizag oxygen source ammonium nitrate, which is used in making fertilizer. Is it true? And if yes, how much is stored and what exactly safety precautions should be taken care of? Can you please answer this question?
First of all, I am not aware in which organization ammonium nitrate is stored in Vizag. Okay, how it is stored. So I don't think it's right on my part to say something really aware. It's ammonium nitrate is an explosive chemical, and that is caused the recent devastation of Beirut city, and similar kind of storage is there in any industry in India, any city in India. It's a cause of concern, and my advice to those industries and management is that to take adequate. The question the gentleman has asked me, is it true that it is stored in Vizag? I do not know. I don't. I have no really question. It will not be right on my part to say here something in the public domain that yes, in Vizag there is a ammonium nitrate or not. Thank you so much. I don't know if Dr. R.T. Lango has got any idea about.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Dalit. Basically, as Dr. Anjali has stated, the ammonium nitrate accidents are very repetitive in nature. Probably, I think it happened in Texas and various other places. And all these chemical storages, ammonium nitrate storages are as per the PESO regulation, Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. They have the licensed storages and premises to keep. The point here is the quantity. In fact, the Beirut incident talks about the quantity that's stored in the premises. And here we also got news on that there are many storages in the country, different places. It's part of the manufacturing process. See, what we have to understand is, see, there was an accident sometime back with respect to styrene, and you see it happened it is used in many industries. The question is, the hazard of the chemical is common. It is the inherent property of a chemical, whether it be an explosive chemical or a toxic or a flammable, whatever it is, or a chemical having a runaway reaction. They are the hazards. And we try to ensure safety of them by implementing the procedures, protocols to see that the parameters are not deviated, the systems are put in order, and control measures are kept in place so that nothing goes out of control. So basically, all these major action hazard chemicals, flammable, explosive, and toxic, as under MSH rules, or what we have come under factories that we call them as hazardous processes, like industries handling hazardous chemicals. The point here is the hazards are inherent of them, and that will be always there. When the control measures, when the protocols, the procedures are deviated, diluted, or compromised, then definitely these accidents are going to happen. And as we all know, the amount of energy released depends on the quantity that is stored. That's the quantity of storage that differentiates the damages. And of course, all these storages are subjected to PESO regulations There are guidelines of the PESO for storing them or for handling them, as well as there are requirements to handle the emergency preparedness associated with these things. What we need to understand is all these chemicals are hazardous by and large if you know that they are flammable, explosive, and toxic. And the issue is not alone with the chemical storage, it is with respect to non-adherence of the required protocols and procedures. Definitely, if we don't do it, then definitely it will result in an accident and it may turn into a disaster. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ranjit.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. Now we have another question with us. What can we do to train the people in safety, industrial personnel, students? Lalit, if you can answer this question. What can we do to train the people in safety, industrial personnel, and students? Sir, you're not audible, so your mic is.
Mike is
Please unmute your mic. Lalit, sir, you're not audible.
Hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good question. What can we do to train the people in
Safety,
safety?
yes.
There are various means and ways to train the people in safety. First is we need to believe ourselves that each one of us require a training in safety in our own way. Whatever we do in our day-to-day life, the safety has to be learned, the safety has to be taught. We have to start safety education from our home. Okay. Let everybody at home understand the importance of simple home safety rules. When you go to your industry or your workplace, what are the hazards, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the safety regulations, what are the safety policies of the workplace, that needs to be understood by everybody. Question here is, what can we do? How you can, as if you are a safety professional, you can make use of various means and ways or various technologies these days available. Various online programs are available in safety training. First, identify who requires training. Is he a supervisor? Is he a contract worker? Or is he or she a plant engineer or a senior manager or a non-technical function officer? Everyone requires safety. Then, as per their job profile, identify what are those safety training requirements for them. People are sitting in office, so their safety requirements are different. No point in training them in some work at height safety. Those actually who are required to work at height, design a program for them on work at height safety or similarly confined space safety. Training modules, ready-made online programs or the paid online programs are available these days. Make use of digital technology, e-learning platforms are available. So, for students, safety must be taught in school and colleges. In fact, that's the project which now National Safety Council is also planning to do something in that area. But unless safety is taught in school and colleges, it really, if the safety is taught in schools and colleges, it will help in a long way to build a positive safety culture in the country. So that must be the starting point. Unfortunately, what happens in our country that when the engineer joins his first job, first thing in induction program and there safety for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, maybe in a highly hazardous industry, slightly longer. That should not be. Okay. If one is taught relevant safety topics or the relevant safety topics are included in the school or college curriculum, then the industry will not be required to put in too much of efforts in training of their new engineers or new employees. So identify what are the means and ways. First, what are the training, safety training requirements, and what are the various means and ways available to train those people. And if somebody wants, they can get in touch with National Safety Council. We can help such organizations in doing their DNA, the training need assessment, and also developing the required training programs and delivering the necessary safety. Thank you, Dr.
I'll add one point, Dr. Anjali. Yeah, I'll just add one point to Dr. Lalit. Basically, DG Factory, we are conducting, many of you might be knowing, diploma in industrial safety courses for the students through our regional labor institute, 1 year full-time course, and that is beneficial for the students to undergo. And most of the participants are from industry sponsors. We are also taking regular students also to these courses run by our own 5 institutes. Coming to training part, DigiFactory does three things. One is we train the supervisors, competent supervisors to handle the chemicals as under Section 41 CB of the Factories Act 1948. Apart from this, we are also training occupational health experts, running an AFH course for the medical professional through our institute as well as the approved institutes of DigiFactory. So basically, the student, one is they have to get enrolled into it, or they can come to DigiFactory or NSE, where they can participate in the public training programs. The student community is in fact, the national policy clearly says the academic curriculum should have safety and health as a component. And there are so many institutions coming up in the country, coming out with the UG level, PG level courses on industrial safety. There has to be a proper networking and need-based analysis to be done to benefit the students in a larger perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering this question. Anil is also here. He has joined.
So,
Yes, sir.
I am sorry, there was a power cut in the entire institute suddenly. So I managed to join with laptop. In fact, thank you, Dr. Ilangovan. In fact, you also sometimes we were asking you a question. So I will take this question and then Anjali will continue because I am not able to see the question. So Anjali, you will have to ask the question.
Please.
But anyway, so the question to Dr. Ilangovan was that is pending. That since the issue of industrial safety and industrial chemical accidents within the central government level is dealt by a number of institutions, number of agencies, and which are all are important also. Like even Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizer, we cannot say that is not important. Petroleum is important. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, that is nodal because Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention, all these conventions, that is nodal ministry. Then Ministry of Health has role to play. In fact, we did not discuss about the Ministry of Surface Transport. So that is also important. Shipping is also important. So how do you see the required improvement in coordination among these ministries and institutions? So your quick remarks on this, Dr. Langovan. And
Yes,
then I'll come with the same to Shri Lalit ji also and to Dr. Dinesh also. Ji.
okay. Sir, I agree with you because all of us know that there are different departments at the state government level, ministries at the central government level dealing with the chemical safety and disaster. For example, to start with the factories, you have the Factories Act. You come to dock area, port trust where the dock work is carried out. The DG factories enforcing the Dock Worker Safety and Health Welfare Act 1986 and Regulation 1990, where we talk about chemical safety, emergency action plan, and so on. Then comes the third domain where we talk about the building and other construction works in 1996 and Central Rules 1998. There we talk about the emergency action plan, employing 500 or more workers, emergency action. And in my observation, I agree with Professor Anil's observation because we work in the prevention part. The factory inspectorate, the dish under the factory, we are the administrator, they are the enforcing agencies of the state government. They work more in preventing an accident. The perspective on disaster is really a missing component in the chain management, chain of safety management. Then we have Disaster Management Act 2005. It also considers industrial disasters as a component. And we are having MSH rules. I think Dr. Dinesh will be also concurring with me. We have Rule 13, we have on-site, Rule 14, off-site emergency plan. And then on-site emergency plan is approved by the chief inspectors at the Directorate of Industrial Safety and Health of the state government. See, the major problem comes, of course, the MSH rule talks about the mock drill for on-site once in 6 months or off-site once in a year by the district authority, updation, everything is going on. For example, DG Fatli, everybody was talking about Bhopal gas leak disaster. One of the important advances, 1987, the Factories Act was totally changed. It was really revamped after the Bhopal gas leak disaster, bringing the concept of occupier, site approval, and then hazardous chemical specific information, empowering the public, passing the information to the workers, supervisors, or nearby residents, government authorities. Nothing can be considered as a trade secret. There are so many things, particularly Chapter 4A of the Factories Act was specifically brought for these hazardous factories. And we also created a major accident hazard and chemical safety division. It was created in support of ILO, and then this division is now functioning at various institutes of DGFAR. And of course, NDMA, we work with them, we give our officers for supporting them. The major point is there has to be a consensus, there has to be a common platform where all these departments, as rightly said, they should work. It's a kind of working relationship or a kind of maybe inter-ministerial committee or a kind of a operation committee should exist, wherein all these points can be connected. For example, you have an on-site emergency plan, as Lalita said, and maybe you will not be even seeing it. In case of emergency, the operator may not even see the on-site emergency plan, or he may not be knowing what to do in case of even to put an alarm, put a warning, put a communication. So the whole purpose is that we need to create a joint working. That's in fact, in my view, the regulatory requirements are well taken care. And of course, the new code that is being brought also considers all these aspects, emergency, all those management, everything is taken care. Only point is there has to be a working platform where all these connected departments, ministries should jointly work, thereby the final objective of the prevention, control, and mitigation of the disasters can be done. Number one. Number two, there is a need for a checklist. In fact, this is I wanted to make it in a platform. In fact, when we were working with a few state governments, they are approving the on-site emergency plan. Of course, Rule 13 gives a schedule what all to be contained. But we need to have a common checklist for all the state authorities who can check as a requirement, like a complete checklist before according an approval or a kind of a recording in their office. Likewise, we also need to go for a common checklist in terms of course, offsite emergency plan, the more how it is available. But on-site, I personally feel we need to develop a common checklist where the system can be uniform throughout the country. The focus should be more on making our regulatory authorities, both at the central government and state government, to work jointly with the objective of prevention, mitigation, and then reduction of disasters in the country, particularly with respect to chemicals. The most important point to my view is that the knowledge on chemicals. This is an important issue. Everyone should know about that. It's not that only top people or process safety people at the top management knows. Even an operator, if he doesn't know a chemical is having a white vapor, then if he doesn't distinguish a vapor as a release, then he will treat it as a normal incident. So the chemical safety knowledge has to be percolated from the topmost person in the organization to the lowermost person, to the contract labor, subcontract labor, because he's the interface where an accident or a disaster is occurring, and his information will be crucial. You can see the whole accident cases. There have been some contract employee or subcontract employee or an illiterate employee who might have seen the deviation, but for him, unless you empower him with the knowledge to understand it as a deviation, for him it is a normal occurrence. So therefore, focus should be there to integrate everybody into the disaster management system for its effective function. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Very importantly, you highlighted the need, and it would be good to have the comments from Sri Lalit ji on this. That especially at the local level. So not only at the central level, but also where a lot of industries are located. So how various departments can work together, and the concept of MARG, mutual aid response group, was also there. So how do we look at Sri Lalit ji? Lalit sir, Anjali, do we see Lalit sir here? Lalit sir nahi dikh rahe hain. Then we'll go to Dr. Dinesh. Dr. Dinesh, since we have been also working for development of national action plan for chemical accidents, so you can national action plan on chemical accidents also you recently developed.
Yes, yes, as I had updated in my previous
थोड़ा आवाज yeah, you can speak little louder, Dinesh ji.
as had been updated earlier, told that there is a new set of rules is coming, uh, integrating all the existing rules. So the draft chemical safety rules are coming, and it has been prepared keeping in mind the core expertise organization has. And in this case, here for draft chemical safety rules, also is invited as a nodal agency. We have also consented for it, and there is an international consultation process going on. The draft rules have also been made. Industry is also on board. So the issue of this multiple agencies and multiple responsibilities will be sorted out soon. So hopefully, maybe in 6 or 7 months, we have a new set of rules. The MSI safety care will also will go there. So it will be an integrated set of rules, which the chemical registration authorization will be there, and the accidents aspects of the industrial installation will also be merged into that. So the government is working on it, and I think the rules will come. So sooner, only one agency will be there who will be keeping track of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. In fact, Lalit sir will be joining shortly. The same problem. There's a power cut at his place, so I think this is right now the power cut is going to be. It's like a pan India issue. So he'll joining from other system. Anyway, Dr. Dinesh, there is one more question from a participant regarding recent EIA draft EIA amendment notification. That how the chemical safety and disaster management is going to be looked into in the new version of EIA, because globally there is a discourse that EIA should facilitate effective disaster resilience also, and particularly the chemical safety and other aspects of environmental impact of various disasters. So if you can make a comment on that.
To be very frank, it is a contentious issue, and I actually do not deal with it. Had I been
Yeah.
any information, I would have
Certainly
updated
it
you.
is undergoing process.
Yeah, it is a very
undergoing
contentious
process,
issue.
but yes. So, but discussions are going on there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can we have a brief comment from Ilangovan sir, that how can we look at the EIA mechanism to facilitate, because now we are talking that the safety and disaster management should be taken care of from the site selection stage itself, and then the design and layout and everything, so that it is not reactive but rather proactive. So your brief comment on that.
Sir, as I told you, the site notification is an important criteria. It is the first and foremost step in reducing the risk or reducing the implications or impact of a disaster if it happens in our place. And as we have discussed already, the Factories Act Section 41A clearly talks about the approval of the site notification. It consists of almost 13 authorities, in which Pollution Control Board is also an authority. Where you talk about risk assessment, we talk about consequence modeling, we talk about the environment impact assessment, and so on. All these documents take environment impact assessment or a risk analysis report or an audit or an hazard, or for that matter, your on-site and off-site emergency plan. All these documents or the systems are there only to finally have an impact or have a say on the disaster in preventing, reducing, and then mitigating the disasters. As I told you again, I come to the same point. All these documents. Only thing is that each and every law looks it in its perspective. For example, the factors that talks about safety and health risk, whereas the Environment Protection Act 1986 talks about environmental risk, like that. But as a whole, when you take about the legal compliance, it ensures the overall requirement. Again, we need to have a better performance, better working system. Then there had to be a proper coordination, a working model, or a joint platform where they can share. I would like to put a point here. When I was part of the High Court Committee of the Andhra Pradesh government. The Andhra Pradesh government has thought about a model. In fact, I got it to a few public social platforms also, wherein they were making all the connected agencies to work in a single platform, like your boiler department, pollution control board, factories inspectorate, PESO. Because when you work together, all these gaps can be taken out and the system can be much more effectively made to function. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ilangovan. So one quick question, last quick question from my side. And then we'll go back to Anjali to take one or two questions. Then we'll go to concluding remarks. Dr. Ilangovan, since now we have moved from a single hazard to a multi-hazard approach in disaster management also. And if we look at the industrial unit or industrial system, so although besides the domino effect of one industry on the other, now we have a domino effect of other hazards also. For example, if it is a coastal area, if it is a hill area, then it is the area is prone to landslides, or area is prone to flash floods, or the large amount of land in India is prone to earthquake. And then ambient heat has added new issues for the safety standards also. For example, if the ambient heat is going to be 46 degree or 47 degree, so earlier safety standards are correct. Now we have to visit. So the climate change issues for industrial safety are also emerging as important. So how do you see that the combination of a number of hazards that industry has to now operate within an ambit of a number of hazards at the same time? So your quick remarks on that.
I do agree with it because we are seeing it. For example, you see the startup units after the uneasing of lockdown. The startup unit, you can see the number of accidents that are happening in our country, particularly with respect to chemical. It is also a kind of, when you start up, then automatically the hazards are crept into the system when a startup plant is happening, apart from your routine function. As you rightly said, there are various areas. For example, the units located in coastal zone. In fact, they are subjected to more saline corrosion, and maintaining the plant safer, free from leakages or spill is a very tough job. I know places wherein the barbed wire of the factory can be taken, plucked out by hand and crush it like a sand, and you can throw it within 6 months. It's a chemical saline corrosion. See, the complexity of the assets, the multiplicity of the assets cannot be ruled out. We need to create systems which reflect all these parameters into our system. In fact, again, I'll take you a case study where an accident which happened a few months ago, where you talk about you treat a chemical. For example, a chemical is both toxic and flammable. You do modeling only for flammable, and you don't consider it as a toxic. It's a multiplicity of hazards of a same chemical, and by not considering it, suddenly if it turns into a toxic chemical and toxic gas is released, and we are not in a position to provide the necessary safeguards. The multiplicity of the hazard or the complexity of the hazard are the different type combination of hazard. See, all these things have to be looked into. As you rightly said, The temperature, if it goes in 46 degree and your chemical becomes unstable at 25 or 24 degree, then definitely your cooling system will change. The plant in a very chill region where temperature doesn't go up. In fact, there are conditions where you put up a plant less than 23 centigrade to reduce the evaporation rate. But still, the evaporated chemical can form a different issue. So ultimately, it is a need of the hour. We should think about all the related factors, assets in a comprehensive manner, in a holistic manner. Otherwise, the system will not be enough to take care of the situation.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ilangovan. Now, Lalit sir has also joined, and we will take a final remarks. We'll take final remarks from Shri Lalit ji. Lalit sir, the final round of discussion was on the point that all our industrial units and the industrial parks and industrial estates are prone to not only one hazard, but along with the industrial and chemical risk, they are also prone to climatic extreme events like heat, cyclones, and then geological hazards like earthquakes, also landslides, also. So, how do we see the new regime of safety and accident management for industries? So, this is the point that we were discussing, and Dr. Lomo was giving his elaborate remarks on this. So, we'll come back to Sri Lalit ji for his final remarks of today's webinar. Lalit sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Gupta. Yes, Dr. Ilangovan has elaborated in a very nice, nice way. Now, I would like to say that the industry has to take safety from a, very, just give me a minute. I'm trying to set my camera because I opened my iPad because of the power disruption there. Yeah. So safety should be a holistic approach and not just a code compliance, because I am in a major hazard industry, so I have to do this, and I am not a major hazard industry, so I don't want to do that. Because as Dr. Ilangovan rightly said, that it's a going to cause a domino effect. Rising temperature, rising ambient temperature causes accidents. It's not just a rising ambient temperature is having a effect on the human health, but also if your storages are there, they need to have different kind of or increased insulation, so that the chemicals which are supposed to be maintained at a particular temperature do not have the some kind of a reaction or the explosions and all because of the rising temperature. So today's climatic condition, the environmental impact, and what the law says, all that needs to be completely reviewed very regularly. What was the law yesterday, whether it is really applicable or something needs to be done beyond the law or beyond the any code requirement. So that holistic approach needs to be taken by every organization, irrespective of they are in chemical business or they are in any other business. So we need to really go much beyond the code compliances, and all the codes need to be harmonized. They need to have, they should not, that the code which is published by a particular department, a government department, talks something different for the same kind of hazard, and the other department or other experts talk something different. So all the codes need to be harmonized, because it's a life is life. Safety is safety. It cannot be different for a different ministry and different for another ministry. So that is my take on this. And once that happens, then the every safety concerns will be addressed in a holistic manner. Over to you, Professor.
Over to Anjali. I think there's some problem at the end. Over to Anjali. You can take 1 or 2 questions, then we can request CP sir for his concluding remarks.
So I guess most of the questions we have already taken up. So I don't think there's any other question left.
Okay,
So
so we can move to a conclusion. Yeah.
okay, thank you so much, Anil, and distinguished speakers for sharing your outstanding knowledge and valuable information with the participants and audience. Now, I would like to request ED and IDM Major General Bindal sir for once again for his final concluding remarks. ED sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali. It has been a very enlightening 2 hours, nearly 2 hours, where the experts have spoken their concerns. And a large number of concerns came out. I'll not be able to summarize all of them, but that will come out in the webinar report. But 3, 4, I will still like to reiterate. One is collaboration within a cluster for safety investment. That point which was brought out by Joint Secretary Sandeep Pundre. That is a very important factor, and since CSR funds are available, I think that issue should be looked into by the Safety Council, also by the Ministry, also in all their directions, where a group of a cluster should be, I think it should be mandated that there is no need to maintain a fire tender at every location. There could be a centralized fire fighting brigade, which is capable of looking after different types of chemicals kept there. Right? So that's something like that. Then the issue which was brought out about periodic risk assessment, it is very, very important that chemical storage and safety, every day the state changes. The state of the chemical changes every day. The state of the environment is changing every day. The climate change is making so many changes on everyday basis that its effects on the chemical industry is felt felt very badly, and it needs to be taken note of. So this needs to be done periodically and in a deliberate manner. And the main issue which was brought out was it needs to be followed up so that it should not die down. So I think if the regulating authorities should make it mandatory that whenever anyone is asking for any permission, they should first bring out what was the risk assessment done and what all actions had been taken based on the recommendations, and then go forward from that. Automatically the culture of uh, carrying out risk assessment and following it up will creep into the industry in this. And IDRN, someone in the chat box spoke about India Disaster Resource Network, which NIDM is maintaining. In that, he has said that certain items need to be included which are related to chemical disasters. So I will request that if such a list is provided, we will vet it and we will add those items. So then this week, Dr. Anil Gupta can talk to the 3 ministries, 3 experts who came today, and take their input by sharing the list which is available openly on the website, what they want to be included for off-site emergencies. I'm not talking about on-site, I'm talking about off-site emergency plan of the industry. And multi-hazard approach has been brought out that since all industries are located in a geographical area which is affected by various types of hazards, and it could be anything. So every industry should look into a multi-hazard approach so that the disaster management plan, both on-site and off-site, caters for a multi-hazard scenario. Harmonizing of codes, the last point which was brought out by Dr. Lalit, that is very important. We have thousands of codes on various issues, but harmonization is a major issue because every ministry is taking out their own codes based on some research and consultations and a very detailed process. Every ministry is doing it, but where is the coordination? So I think there should be something where uh, projects can be taken, research can be taken up, where all codes related to chemical industry are brought in together and studied, and where harmonization is required. So this, I think the ministry can take on and do it, because it will be a big thing and everyone will be on the same page, because initially someone spoke about creating a checklist which is uniform all over. So that for that, this harmonization of codes is also equally important. I've just highlighted a few points, but with this you can see that how keenly I was listening to the complete deliberations, and I hope the participants have uh, gathered all this intelligence, and they'll be able to disseminate it further. And the report of this particular webinar will be available on the website, which will capture all the important points for everyone. I once again thank all the speakers personally, Dr. Lalit, Dr. Elagovan, Dr. Dinesh, and Joint Secretary Sandeep Pumrik ji, who's not here as of now, and Dr. Anil Gupta, who's the convener, and Dr. Anjali, who moderated the session. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your visionary approach and wonderful insights. And thank you so much, Professor Anil Kumar Gupta, for providing me this opportunity to speak on this platform. And on behalf of National Institute of Disaster Management, I would like to thank our guest of honor, Shri Sanjeev Pondrik, sir, for sparing his valuable time and insightful thoughts. I would like to extend my thanks to our distinguished speakers, Shri Lalit Gabhani, sir, Shri Langovan, sir, Dr. Dinesh Kumar, for gracing the webinar with with your thought-provoking ideas and sharing outstanding information and knowledge with the audience, with the participants. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Mr. Masila Mani, young professional of NIDM, IT team of NIDM, Mr. Gaurav, Mr. Balaji, Shobhit, for providing technical assistance. And thank you so much to all the wonderful participants for taking time out and being here with us today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.